call to order the committee of the whole meeting on October 2nd, 2023. The time is 7 p.m. Then
Member McLeese.
Here.
Member Wire.
Here.
Member Matheny.
Here.
Member Orr.
Here.
Member Volt.
Here.
Member Schreier.
Here.
Member Wire.
Here.
7 present.
Start off with finance and property.
I think we're gonna start, middle, and finish with finance and property. So do you want to read it? Do you want to discuss it?
Chair's got a whole presentation for you.
Right. Is that how you want to start it then? So Gina, I'm going to kind of let you take these over, and then everything is budget related this evening. And we kind of started this new process last year, I believe, maybe the year before. It's been the past 2 years.
All three, actually.
What'd you say? This is our third year. Okay. And kind of from a lot of years of sitting here until midnight, going line item by line item. And we took a broader approach and looked at it more from above. And then instead of drilling into, how many rolls of paper does a department need, we're going to trust that the departments know how to do that, and then we'll figure out the allocation for that. So each of us met one-on-one, or a couple of us met together with the whole team, and kind of went over the broad issues. And so Gina's now going to drill down on that and go over it a little deeper tonight. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Whether you're working together with you, make this dream. I'll go through this as quickly as I can, but it's really an opportunity to present what is the mayor's budget. So the first couple of slides that we're going to go through, just to kind of recap our journey to this point. You can follow on your slides or on your monitors, and I will read just a couple of short paragraphs. So we're entering North Canton's second century. North Canton's first 100 years was a century of growth, establishment, and identity building. North Canton became a premier locality in Stark County, and the funds from the Hoover Company helped build critical infrastructure, parks, and services. Fortunately, it did not last forever. Like many communities in the Rust Belt, the city lost its largest employer, along with related income tax and donations that supported city services. I think we did a little research recently and discovered that pretty much all the municipal buildings where they sit was on land that we were donated to or provided otherwise by the Hoover Company. For a decade, North Canton focused on simply maintaining, which meant cutting costs, and many needs went unaddressed. Since 2018, North Canton has exited that period of transition and began to look forward to the city's second century as one of redevelopment, growth, and prosperity. But in order to grow and prosper, we had to take care of some items we had inherited. And we've gone through this list a few times. You can't read all the fun. I'm just going to pick a few just to kind of give you the flavor that we had to deal with. Because in order to grow, you have to build on a foundation. Without a foundation, whatever you build is on slippery sand or pillar, what's that song? Pillars of salt.
Salt and pillars of sand.
Your kid.
Yeah.
So what? We had health insurance coverage with no aggregate stop loss limit. And I can't even begin to fathom the significance of that for me, having been in the insurance business, but the city was at huge risk. It was without a aggregate stop loss limit, that means that it was limited how much the city could be on the hook for any potential claims. Another one we lacked in the current employee handbook, up to date with all the current laws. Without any means to guide our employees in what we expect from them and how they should perform on their job and what are the rules of engagement, how could we possibly be effective? Water and sewer rates were not reviewed per the ordinance that required them to be reviewed or adjusted since 2017. We fixed that. This council fixed that. No capital improvement requests were made to the state legislature, ever. Each time we have now asked for assistance on various projects, and we are in that process right now of submitting a request to the state for their next capital budget. We had no credible IT management, no threat assessment performed, and when we did get that done, we found glaring problems that we have since addressed. And many might think that it's not really that important, perhaps, but just look at Jackson Township and what they've gone through. You can see that the threats out there are very real, and they're but we've been able to deal with that thanks to this council. We had no functioning master plan. We thank the mayor and his team for helping push that initiative forward, and this council and administrative staff for fine tuning that and getting us to the point where we have the master plan. And then finally, just I think a few weeks ago, we talked about permit fee schedule had not been updated since 2011. These are very important things to go through our budget and trying to make sure that we right size our budget and right size the revenues. Going through it all, we've created new legacies of positive achievement. So we improved public communication, we rebuilt our website, we created a newsletter, started weekly council bulletins, and committed to biannual surveys. We improved transparency through financial transparency portal, new building permits search portal, new current historic legislation and code search integrated with the website. We've improved internal functions, migrated to cloud computing, computer automation introduced to processes, automating the workflow so that everybody knows where everybody else is at. Very important. Creation of policy office and key performance metrics and tracking, regular department meetings instituted. We have a dedicated HR personnel. We return staffing to appropriate levels. Continual code review and improvement. We always are bringing stuff to you with how we can tweak our code in order to be more receptive of business inquiries into our community. And we reinvigorated code enforcement. We didn't have that before. But there's still more that is missing that we need to do. And so what we lack, although we do have a city master plan of where we would like the city to be and the things that we would like to achieve, what we lack is a facility master plan. So this fall, yet this year, administration intends to present to council a facilities master plan as a supplement to the 2023 city master plan. And in this, we will assess the city's needs for fire EMS station, police station, 911 dispatch center, service garage, dogwood pool, recreation rental facilities, administrative offices. Additionally, in the first half of 2024, the administration will present a parks development master plan to assess the city's many outdoor recreation facilities. Status of where we would like to go. Those are things that we did. Those are some things we want to do. And that's how we got to where we are today. So the 2024 budget proposal that we're going to talk about, as Stephanie has alluded to, it's some time ago, and the end result of it is founded upon fiscal responsibility with three key principles: capacity, efficiency, effectiveness. So on capacity, ensuring the city can operationally accomplish the goals and projects budgeted. Capacity, how many projects can we undertake and not sacrifice oversight or completion of the project? And this is, getting our department heads, our superintendents to understand what is the capacity of each worker they have. They have so many hours in a calendar year that they work, so many vacations, so many sick days, you can plot all this stuff out, reduces you down to how many hours of actual work. And then with that information, times the number of bodies that are there, we're able to say to you, when your member Matheny calls with a constituent need, and it involves a project, can we do that? Do we have the man hours to put that together? And can we do it without sacrificing any other project that we're working on and still be effective? Capacity is important. This means having the right people and the right number of people in the right place. We didn't have that before. In the past, we simply either added payroll or reduced capacity. But we now, under our new model, we have had to replace people in all departments because we needed to have the right people and the right number in the right place to do the job. With implementation of last year's budget, North Canton government is right-sized on staffing to deliver exceptional service to residents and to accommodate reasonable future growth. Efficiency. Enhancing the city's capabilities to perform skilled functions such as road paving, curb and gutter replacement, and public communications. Across all departments, we ask continually, how can we do better at what we do? How can we break it down and rethink it to try to be more efficient with what we do? Developing partnerships to collaborate on expanded services, recognizing that there are experts in the community that do other things that we would like to do but can't do them as well. The YMCA, the North Canton Library. We collaborate with them because they can deliver services better than we can. Engaging with the private sector to perform specialized functions that the city would struggle to effectively provide. Again, utilizing the YMCA to manage the pool, Safeco to run the building department, AtNet to run the IT, North Canton Golf to run the golf course. All these are things that are not services that we could excel at if we tried to. Thirdly, effectiveness. About being effective with your tax dollars, more bang for the buck. Ensuring that residents receive the best value for their money. This means stretching tax dollars efficiently by prioritizing services. We save money with skilled employees, and we'd like to retain those skilled employees. We're ever grateful to council and the mayor for allowing us to secure city-owned paving and curbing machines. They have been in full force this year. This reduces the need to hire outside contractors for alleys and small projects. This enables us, as we get into this a little bit more, enables us to get more bang for our buck. That's very important. OpenGov, technology to digitize and streamline processes in-house and for residents to access online services. Didn't before. The more that we can automate this and make it accessible to the community to do these various things, the less people time it involves on the administrative side, on the department side. And as a result, it not only is it more efficient, but enables us to do more things. And we're reducing red tape, updating rules such as water connection regulations to provide service to more customers. The council just approved that not too many months ago, I believe. And since then, we have signed up our 13th new customers since the changes were made. And in all my 5 years here before this change, we've had all of probably zero. Can't remember when I signed, authorized the installation of the water tap. So now, and that's a process that's automated by allowing somebody to go online, make a request, workflow goes to each department. When they sign off, it goes to the next department, and eventually it makes this thing move very quickly. It's working well. Economic development. Right. So I have said recently here at council, we reported outward to the community that North Canton must grow its commercial base. And we have many exciting ongoing developments that will bring additional revenues. Meyer block of new business developments with builders of Bojangles that will be under construction in the next week or two, followed by Papa Bear. A week or two after that. Meyer is coming along well. We still have 7 Brew. We've looked at their plans. They're close to getting ready to start. The road's being built. There's a lot going on in that area, as you know. Diebold Nixdorf has completed its second expansion in 3 years within the Hoover District. The new manufacturing plant represents an investment in excess of $18 million and houses approximately 400 additional employees. In 2024, we will welcome Diebold Nixdorf's third expansion with the relocation of its corporate offices from Hudson to North Canton. This will bring in an additional 75 to 100 jobs. We have 2 new schools, potentially 3. So we know the ones about on Charlotte and Claremont. Both facilities did open on time, on schedule for 2023. And this has created more jobs within the city because the school district consolidated its operations within the city limits rather than build another school outside the city. We're very grateful for that partnership. They have a matter that is before the voters in the fall here coming up on the possibility of building a middle school, brand new middle school. So we could have another one, and how that will drive economic development in the area surrounding that. And then finally, we introduced, as you know, a week or so ago, the shared development agreement with Jackson Township. We look forward to working that through the process and hopefully getting that in place. We have been busy acquiring potential development sites for the future growth of the city as well. 2024 budget overview. Top left corner. General fund carryover balance of 25%. Now, for our television viewing audience, and for those of you here today, I'm going to try to break this down into some layman's language. Real simple. Because we can get kind of overboard with accounting and auditing kind of terms that maybe not everybody understands. So, general fund carryover balance. You might as well think of it in your household as your savings account. How much do you have saved? How much do you keep in the bank from year to year? December 31st comes at the end of the year in your household. Do you still have money that you haven't spent? That's your general fund carryover. And for the city of North Canton, as it relates to various targets that we try to reach, we need to have a minimum there of 25%. 25% of our general fund we need to carry over from year to year. And this is critically important because the amount of carryover affects the interaction from 2 outside agencies. Auditors who like to come in and see how you're doing. And if you're not carrying 25%, you're financially at risk. Think of it at your house. You try to save enough money for the rainy day. When that rainy day comes, you hope to have that money there. But what if it isn't there? Then what do? Well, then you have a problem. You have to find an alternate source of revenue. In your house, maybe you put it on a credit card. There's 19% interest. There are consequences to not having enough reserves. So auditors like to see that. And then bond rating agencies also like to see that. So, the city does, finance things, equipment that we get, land that we buy, buildings that we add on to, and rating agencies assess a scorecard for us. Our credit worthiness would be the equivalent in your household. And if we don't have these minimum targets met, our bond rating could drop. Our bond rating drops, then our interest rate goes up. So we have put this budget together that we meet that 25% minimum threshold. But it's getting harder every year to meet that target. Upper right, water fund carryover balance presently of 40%. It needs to be 100%. Not because we've made it up because the federal government says that that's what your target carrying balance needs to be for every district in the United States. This all has to do with the disaster that befell with Michigan. So now we all know what we have to get to. And to get to 100%, we're a long way from there. And over the last 3 years, we've maintained steadiness. We need to make progress towards that. Bottom left corner, there's that savings account, piggy bank. So the city is spending 1.5 million out of that account, savings account, in order to get to 25% minimum carry, taking out of our savings. And this isn't new. We've been taking funds out of our savings account for a couple of years now. There are such huge needs that need to be met. And we'll talk more about those things as we go on. And then finally, as it relates to the 2024 budget, we're only adding one additional full-time equivalent person, and that is fire department. Everything else stays the same. So when we talk about 1.5 million that we take savings, where does it go? Well, 450,000 goes to the fire department. Because the levy that is there for fire is still not right sized. It's improved, but it's not right sized. The EMS levy is right sized. The adjusted fire and EMS, when we sent that to the ballot a few years ago, it was approved, and we plugged the EMS shortfall, and that was substantially more than the 450,000 for fire. It was closer to $1 billion. So we've made progress. That's good. But as those levies come up, whatever they do, how many years from now, these are the kinds of things that we need to address. 450,000 to the streets. And I would, as a note, you can never have enough money for streets. If you had all the money, it would still not be enough for streets. Streets are something that is, they're a money pit. Like overtime. That should keep more and more and more money, and then you hope you find that treasure at the end. But you go a lot of years before you do that. I don't even know how that should have turned out. Lost interest.
Going on.
Yep, still going on.
But here's kind of what, when we look at the monies that we spend on roads, we have to kind of break it down. We broke it down before. Let's just reiterate it again for this budget. But if we look at just the residential roads, take out the alleys, I take out the cul-de-sac, take out the main thoroughfares, and you're left with approximately 55-ish residential road miles. How often should they be paid? So this is the idea about the funding formula for roads. So if you expect a road that I described to last 16 years, that's a long time on a road. It's not a long time for a cul-de-sac. That's why I put a cul-de-sac. Years. I lived on a cul-de-sac with 30 years. So those can last longer, but we take Glenwood, we take Chatham, take these other kinds of streets as an example, and you think it's going to last 16 years, then you need to be paving 3.5 miles a year to keep to that schedule. 3.5 miles a year to keep to that schedule. What if you think the roads are probably more realistically in that 10 to 12 year phase, about every 10 to 12 years. So let's just take 12 years. Every 12 years, if the road is resurfaced, then that's doing 4.5 miles a year. Last year we did 1.5. This next budget, we're forecasting to do 1. Costs are astronomical from 4 or 5 years ago. out the roof. We're anticipating, again, large increases. Now, we may be pleasantly surprised to see how that is, but the illustration is that, the levy, doesn't bring in enough money to do one and a half. We're way behind schedule now. And these have, over time, if you lose control of it, this also is a contributing factor to property valuation, resale market. You're gonna go buy a home on a street that looks like something from a war. It makes a difference. So anyway, so these shortfalls of program revenues and other funds and the emergent general fund needs will result in overspending current year revenues by $1.5 million this year, again, despite delaying many times. What needs could not be funded? So, this is not everything, but it's kind of some of the bigger things. In our water system, we could not do the Monticello booster pump station. We could not do the Willoway water line replacement. And we also need a clarifier roof at the water treatment was postponed. And you might ask what happens to things that get postponed. Gina will always tell you that she keeps a scorecard of all the things postponed, so that when we do the budget the succeeding year, the first things that we look at are the things that were postponed from the year before. And we make decisions on, can they get in the budget? If not, do we really need it? Can we just kill it entirely? Or do we need to postpone it again? The fire EMS world, we're looking at, we had to delay the replacement of the 2007 Pierce ladder truck, and incidentally, it takes about 3 years. A ladder truck. It didn't in 2007. It's now, and because it takes 3 years, it's like 3 times as much. I was on council in 2007 when we bought the Pierce ladder truck, and it was like $1 million. And we can't afford it. And 2 additional fire prevention vehicles we had to. In the street department, salt dump trucks, they do wear out. Salt is very corrosive. We'd like to add another one. And then at our service garage, we need a sanitary sewer drain connection. We use the street sweeper, and those things have to be cleaned out. We take it back to Canton, the big facility that we do. We don't have that. Again, there are some things that we could do to save us money in the long run, like you did with the street paving, the curb paving is saving us money. Parks, Price Park playground equipment is at 20 years old. That is generally the time when we look to replace those things. They're good this year, but we think that probably next year, certainly the year after, this would be a high priority. Civic Center needs some work in the parking lot, flooring, and then there are issues with the windows, and being able to provide some sort of efficient insulation to that, or even be able to open. Dog park, Glenwood pickleball courts, asphalt, ball field, parking lot, dogwood shelter, inside renovation. 60s, original arc is parallel to 7th Street. Arc is perpendicular to 7th. It's in the back, that was added in the 80s. The original building is largely just the same as it was since the 1960s. And dogwood pool renovation. We have been, as an aside, we have been in touch with the company Renaissance of the 21 liner repairs done last year. 20 of them have failed. So we started getting early with them. We have received communication back from them. We have them scheduled as it stands now to come in here towards the end of October and early November to start the repairs and see how many they can get done. Hopefully the weather's decent. That's the earliest they can come. I signed the authorization to get them here. And hopefully, if it's not done, they'll be back in the spring to complete that so that we can open up on time next year, just to give you a quick aside update. So the 2024 budget, we talked about things that we couldn't do. Let's talk about the things that we can do. So we look at first at our water system. This is an enterprise. We're not talking Star Trek, we're just talking, these are funds that have to be set aside special, if they can be used for the water system. And on the left, you can kind of see what the revenue, 71% of the revenues come from sales and usage fees, and the other 29% is grants. And as we go through these slides, you're going to see a lot of our sources of revenue come from grants. And you need to keep in mind, grants are extremely competitive. And fortunately, we have a crackerjack staff, led by our engineer, that helps us be successful. And you know, to our credit, his predecessor also was crackerjack at that measure, but there are other ones out there now in other communities who are also honing their skills. And it's getting harder to get dollars. In addition, the grant sources aren't constant either. So not every year are the same dollar amounts available for grants, which just makes the pool shallower to get in, and that affects our ability to get money. So what do we need? We need more customers in our water. With more customers, a lot more customers, we can do more projects. That gets us to the other pie chart. And it talks about our expenses. And if you look at it, in essence, 21% or the orange pie is for personnel costs. That's what our costs are, regardless of whether or not we're doing anything with the water treatment plant. Those are kind of our fixed overhead is in personnel. But the things that the personnel need to do their job, the equipment, the supplies, the materials, that's under operating. And then the green is the capital investment. That's the actual project. And then sometimes we don't have enough money to do the projects. We borrow. That's the debt. 79% of every dollar of revenue goes to actually a project. So what are we doing in 2024? We're going to do the 9th Street Northeast Weber water line and reconstruction. Approximate cost on that is $900,000. Across the top, we're going to do the Woodrow Lois water line. That is a $1.3 million project. We're going to do, we are budgeting to do the Orion Street water line. This is a joint project with Plain Township. As you know, last year they applied for that. It didn't make the funding cuts. Not quite sure where it's going to be when it gets scored this year, but we believe that it's a good project for our water line to be able to loop a system. And if they're going to tear up the road, and we can help in that respect, then get a grant, it's all the better for us. And then finally, the Arrowhead raw water well, $2.250 million. And as you know, we have applied to the federal government through Congress for the Sites Office for a $500,000 grant. It's hard to say with all these continuing resolutions that have to go yet in the budget process in Washington, whether that'll make it through, but it did make it out of committee, it did make it into the markup. So that's at least a positive development. And we've also applied for funds through the Ohio Public Works Commission for a combination loan and grant. Sanitary sewer system is also an enterprise class fund. And there are no grants that we get there, so it's 100% off the sales and usage fees. And how that is distributed, we do not operate a sanitary sewer plant. All of our stuff goes to Canton or Stark County. They operate lines that take it to Canton. So the Stark County doesn't process it either. They ship all their stuff to Canton. So Canton's got a lot of stuff that they have to deal with. And we have, our agreement is we do the line. We will maintain the sanitary line. We think that we can do them better, more efficiently, effectively, more cost conscious than turning it over to the city of Canton to do, where they have so much territory to cover, and so few resources that perhaps ours wouldn't get the attention that they deserve. So you can see the pie chart there that roughly 24% of that budget is in personnel, the rest 76% goes to making sure the stuff flows. What sanitary sewer project are we doing next year? We're doing the Wilbur Northeast Sewer Lining. We have a sewer line that runs up there around where that creek starts up on Wilbur and flows its way across Apple Road. And we have a sewer line up there, and we believe that that sewer line is in a state of that water from the creek may get into it. And of course, the fees that we pay to Canton for our stuff is based on volume. So the more water we can keep out of these pipes, the less stuff we're sending, the less cost it is. So it's important that when you find a line that looks like there could be infiltration, you want to replace it. So we're using this concept of a lining where we don't put in a whole new pipe, we just put in a sleeve, if you will. It's usually made out of some type of plastic material that you sleeve it all the way through and keeps the water out, but keeps the stuff in it and moves it along. Okay, streets and roads. So when we look at this, these are again from the big picture point of view. When we look at that pie chart on the left, and we talk about revenue, I'd like you to understand this revenue. As I see it, sitting in my capacity, and for you, as you're thinking about where are we 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road with things, well, this comes to mind. So right now, the gas tax provides 37% of our. Well, what happens with EVs? They don't use a lot of gas. If it's an EV gas hybrid, they use even less gas too. So if gas sales are down as time goes on, then the revenue from the gas tax is likely to be down. And we have to think about how that fits into our budget. If it's the view out of Washington to try to accelerate this EV adoption in the next 10 years, we may start to see the impact of this sooner rather than later. Are the folks in Columbus going to find a different way to give us that money back? I doubt it. They haven't had a great track record of taking away our monies and then finding a way to bring it back. So some say that it's possible that they may raise the registration fee. That's how they'll replace the gas tax. They'll get the electric vehicle and the registration and pass out. Maybe. We'll see. Income tax, about 8% of our street road revenue comes from capital investments from the income tax fund. Grants, we get 15%. Keep in mind what I said before about competitiveness in the shallow pool. And then general fund transfers, we're transferring 17% of those revenues into this department to do these roads. And then that leaves the street levy, which is about 18%. All of this getting us a mile and a half. So we have to do better. So that street levy, when that time comes, we have discussion and what it means. Now on the other side of the graph, we look at how the money is spent, and again, it's fairly consistent. 24% of every dollar goes towards personnel, and the rest goes into fixing the streets. So it can be operating supplies. We'll probably see our operating supplies continue to grow. So like we do the asphalt paving machine. Asphalt, the operating supply, right? We have to buy the asphalt. or if we're doing the curb machine with cement, we have to buy cement. So those are operating. Like we would kind of like to see that, those couple items grow, because that means that we're doing more in-house and we're not outsourcing it to private. May charge a lot more for smaller projects. And then you can see debt is for equipment in this particular case. We bought those machines, we're paying them off over a couple of years, and eventually we hope that they're not. What capital projects are we doing in 2024 in the street? Well, our residential paving program, we're gonna have about $350,000 there. That would be about 1 mile, based on the engineer's estimate at the time. Who knows what it'll be 3-4 months from now? We could be in a recession, who knows? And prices could get come down because people are looking for work at the sharp. We'll see. So far, that hasn't proven to be the case. We need a skid steerer with attachments. That's about $135,000. We are looking to do the remainder of the Woodrow sidewalks and design for the streetscaping there. That's $55,000. And this will line up with the project that is in your 2025 budget that Rob applied for, got grants to do Woodrow from Pierce to Pittsburgh. And that will be, I think it's Pierce, but whatever it's kind of, I always get those streets over there. Bursler, Pierce kind of intersect Woodrow, but generally from that vicinity to Pittsburgh with new sidewalk, curbing gutter, new road, the whole way. So this is dealing with that area east to Main Street. We did phase 1 on the north side of the street, dealt with all the sidewalks, removed the trees from the devil strip that were breaking up the sidewalk, plugging the drains. Our intent is, Bryce is working with us on a design that we get together with folks in that neighborhood, council person, talk about, here's a vision for what we anticipate the street to look like, replacing the trees, and restoring that corridor to what it once was. Many years before I was more likely, Daryl was a youngin'. And then we're going to replace one pickup truck. Now, sometimes the pictures of these objects are not exactly, that looks like a dump truck. So we're not buying a dump truck, it is a pickup. Fire protection and prevention. So we look on the left side. Let's just, let's start on the right side. 69%. Now you'll note that's a way different percentage than what we saw in the other departments. 24% of expenditures. So this is one of those unique departments where you want the majority of your expenditures to be personnel. That means that you actually have people who are going to show up in the ambulance or the fire truck, in this case the fire truck, and actually help you. So that is not unusual. You want a low investment in capital equipment. I don't want an ambulance for every single employee there, right? They ride 2 or 3 together. Just have enough capital to get this out. And you can see how very little goes towards operating expense. On the revenue side, though, we look at the green section, and the fire levy is 63%. Just looking at that 63% is less than the cost for the. You throw in the general fund transfers, and now we're looking at about, we need, 86% of the revenues to make that pie work. Means that we can't do it without the general fund transfer, as in the previous slide that was happening. So when the time comes, we have to talk about that levy when it renews, what we're looking to do there. It's a few years out. In the meantime, that's what we're going to be. One area that we'll talk in the future about is transitioning to a full-time. So there'll be much more to come on that later, but we do believe that, when you look at personnel costs here, most of this is from part-time people. And it results in a lot of overtime because we do about 300,000 a year. And if we're short 500, you can see the 300 is a big piece of that. And how we get away from that is moving toward the full-time department. We think that largely offset. Fire capital projects. Our fire department is thinking outside the box for us and looking at the latest and greatest new technologies. And there are what we call a dual purpose engine to do more than one thing, so it actually replaces two of the old vehicles. Replace each of those old vehicles, we can combine it together and save some money, and we're going to finance that over 10 years. We're going to replace one support vehicle for $60,000, and we're going to get a mobile command post for $30,000. The mobile command post is important. We're dealing with fires and integrating services between the police department, fire department, street department. We need a place to set up to be able to communicate with all the departments, their instructions of dealing with this calamity, whatever it is, destructive community. Emergency medical services, almost to the end, folks. Everything's exciting. Emergency medical services, so EMS, the EMS levy, 70% of our revenues from that. And then our billing service for EMS, soft billing that we do, is over 24% of revenues. So that 94% covers the 82% cost of the person. So this is where we say that one is right sized, that is working. And only 9% is for. Again, the same thing with fire. We want to be people heavy here. We want to make sure that when we call, we have somebody trained that's professional that can help you get through your crisis. EMS capital project, replacing one ambulance, also be financed over 3 years, $415,000. And when you refinance, when we finance things, it costs money. Debt, right? There's interest rates. Today are higher than they were 2 years ago. Probably going to be higher for a longer time. That means more money out of our budget devoted to debt servicing. And so it would be nice to pay cash. It'd be nice to be in a position to pay cash. How you get to that is by getting that target fund carryover, that savings account, so that you're able to deal with some of those. And we're going to replace an events medic vehicle. But equipment costs continue to escalate, particularly in the specialized equipment. I can remember just a few years ago, my first ambulances that we bought was $300,000. Now it's $400,000. 5 years from now, I don't know. But we have to be thinking about that. And then next is everything else. This is, some of you may remember this is the ragu. Remember ragu and Mama asked what's in everything. Everything else. And you can see the important part on the left that I want to talk about is that 74, the blue area, 74% of the revenue comes from 90% in the green for property tax inside the 90%. That property tax, are those levies, fire levy and EMS levy, storm levy, and road levy. That's it. Those are the 4 levies. And that's what your property taxes are paying for. And we've already talked about how those levies generate sufficient funds, what they need to do. And as it relates to our budget, it's not the gorilla in the income tax. And it's permit fees, we get some, we get interest, does a great job of earning interest on our balances. With some rental income, miscellaneous. We go over to the expense side, although the pie chart is broken down into many rainbow colors, I'm gonna kind of group for this discussion that, police department, dispatch department, and the school resource officers components total 36% of the everything else money. I'm not complaining. We need the police. We need those patrols. This is what makes us a safe community that we are today, and why we repeatedly ranked over the years high in all kinds of different opinion polls as to North Canton as a great place to live, work, raise a family. And then you see the other pie chart there where we're at. It's amazing that we do as much in park and rec, just that 12%, and in general government, 19%. You can see the rest. General fund, 2024 capital projects. Police dispatch, we're gonna get 2 police cruisers, 145,000, and a new dispatch radio console, upgrading that IT that we need to make sure that our dispatch stays current. And that is about 320,000 financed over 5 years. And generally, as a rule for you guys, what we like to do, and Gina and I talk about, is that, like we did that, for instance, as an example, in the street department, they wanted to get something else, it was a big ticket item. I said, no. We believe that we need to pay off the other big ticket item before we buy the next big ticket item, so I don't want to double up. We have another year to go on that street paving machine, so we're going to postpone some of the bigger purchase. In the Parks and Recreation, we have dogwood shelters, roof, serious need of attention. We have a community athletic field project that we're moving forward, and dogwood park shade structure. In the general government, the city hall's HVAC system is beyond tinkering with. Most of the time, it doesn't cool or doesn't heat, creates an unbearable situation for police and administration, probably more so for administration. Frank keeps his people pretty cool. Temperatures are lower. But if you were to see the computer that runs this thing, you remember the movie E.T.? Computer and the green thing comes up and little dot comes up to that. They don't. That's there. We have it. We have an E.T. computer monitor and it's DOS prompt. It can't keep up. System. So that needs to be replaced 12,000 financed over 10 years. And then the facilities, parks, master plan, architectural design. So like internally, we're going to do the master plan. But then as things come out of that master plan that need to be done, we know that we're going to have to engage architecture. We prefer to kind of come up with what it's going to look like, how much it's going to cost. So in conclusion, I think that we fulfilled our mission, giving you a budget for the city's second century, again, focus on fiscal responsibility, paying attention to our capacity, our efficiency, our effectiveness. With that, I offer my thanks to the chairperson of the committee for allowing me to use a lot of. I'm sure there'll be questions as we move forward in the weeks ahead. Madam Chair, and every department head will be here at some point during the month of October to answer your questions either during the meeting or after the meeting or before the meeting.
Okay.
So we want to let you know that.
Thanks.
Any other questions, concerns, any more comments? Gina, any comments?
Well, I do want to add that this is the budget as we know it. And at 3:15 tomorrow, something would come in and may change something, and we want it to be the most updated information that we have. So should those things change, such as when the county commissioners certified the levies and the millage and the amount of money that's going to bring in, when we bring the tax budget back to you to accept the amounts and rates as established by the county budget commission, those numbers are different than what we're forecasting. We would want to true those up. We would want to make sure that they're right. So if there's substantial changes, we're going to propose the amendments, all the way through the 3 readings until we know we're spot on.
Okay,
Excellent job.
yeah. And I think, just so you know, the time and effort, not meeting with us, but meeting with each of those departments, and everybody wants something different, and there's always a why they need it or why they are more in need than another department. And, you saw there were a lot of things that weren't able to be funded this year, and that's okay. I don't think we fund everything in our own household, so it's really a very mature attitude that we take within our own homes, and then I think here even more so. So I just appreciate the thoroughness that went into that, and then taking the time to meet with all of us individually. So this is not your first or last or middle time. You're going to keep seeing this throughout this month, and then we do have different timetables that we need to meet to make sure this goes into effect for 2024. Any questions, concerns right now? Yeah.
Just a comment. I've sat through, Mr. Dura, of course, has made fun of my age, and he'll be talking to my federal attorney. But I've sat through a lot of budgets, probably maybe 30 of them or so over the course of my career. And I think it was touched upon earlier in the comments, Stephanie, that you made, but I think it's important for those in our audience to understand that of the 30 budgets that I participated in, this is probably the best process because it ties policy to budgeting in a clear explanation. We're not submerged in the weeds talking about cell phone bills or something else. We have a fairly clear understanding where the money comes from, where it goes, and what's needed to advance the city. We've done that principle. I don't think we've done
The
it
past 3
well.
years.
Yeah, but this is really sort of the apex right now. And I think that's really good. So people who are trying to figure out where this community is going can really look at the budget documents and figure it out. It's not complicated. Because we've had excellent explanation. I used to work for a company that built digital maps, and its motto was seeing is understanding. And you can see it here. So Patrick, Gina, Ben, thank you for a great job. I'm sure that we'll probably get some comments as this unfolds. This really is a great linkage between income, revenue, and policy.
Well, and they're there to, cell phones might become an issue, right? Who knows? One department might be going crazy, or who even knows? But they're there to catch that. And they're
That's
there
exactly.
to look and say, well, why did it go up 500% this year? What's going on? But they see
It's
that.
their job.
Exactly. And
They
manage
are the
that.
managers.
I think that a lot of work went into this. The presentation is good. The information was very informative, and that Gina and your team put hours and hours into this. I think it also states that the development that's taking place up at Meyer and the jobs that are coming, those are important as we look at what our second or third year of taking money out of that savings to cover the needs. We do need to have these jobs in place to help supplement this budget to get us back to where we need to be. And that's evident. The work that they're doing with Jackson Township, thank you for putting that together. I think that's gonna add more income to help us get to where we need to be.
David, you touched on something that I meant to just mention, but that $1.5 million that we're transferring is worth 2,000 jobs at 750 $750 a year in income tax. That's a $50,000 job. 2,000. So that's the, people say, well, why are you doing this? Because we absolutely have to have taxable employment in this city. And if you're going to close these gaps, we've got to have jobs. Like I said, most communities, in my experience, if they got 100 or 200 jobs in a year, they were happy. That's what makes Myers so spectacular. But 2,000 jobs in a year is a big, big lift to get there, to close $1.5 million. We're working at it.
Stephanie, I'd just like to add to, again, thank you. Because we are on schedule for this presentation and the introduction tonight. Thank you very much for the team over here and everybody that worked on it. I still like the three-legged stool here about capacity, efficiency, and effectiveness. I think what corresponds to that is also what has taken place, not only this year, but in the past years, was planning, controlling, and evaluating performance. And these are other key components of putting a budget together and creating financial stability for our community, but also positioning us for the future. They not only look at day to day, but we're also looking at long term and where are we going to be. And this is just the beginning of our process here to finally come to a conclusion with the budget. But thank you for the introduction and getting us started on going forward with our 2024 budget. Thank you.
Real briefly, can you go over the timeline, just for the public, of when you guys started to meet and incorporating the department heads? Because I think it's important for the public to know the deep dive that you guys took onto this.
When we start preparing the tax budget, as soon as we close the month of July, we have 7 full months to work with, and the tax budget is due by August 15th, so that is our first round of the tax budget. And it's every day until right now.
Impressive. I think that the public doesn't realize the intense amount of work that you've all put
It
into
is,
this.
and we really enjoy working with Gina. She's a master at her craft, and Jim as well. That's a big lift. But I can tell you that, as we did this and I met with the department heads first, and then we met together and we do this, we go through it and we get closer and we keep coming back and we say, okay, well, we're this far off yet. We need to go back, and I can, remember in one of the last ones before we got it balanced was, making those phone calls right out of the room. Hey, superintendent, this is where we're at. I gotta tell you, I gotta cut more. And this is what I'm telling you that I'm cutting. And we went through it and we got it done. But then it's this constant, then what Gina said, her work's not done. As these numbers get changed from the other agencies that are sending us money, those have to be updated, and we may have to go back and do more.
If the grants are approved with Rob's projects, if they're not approved, we're going to reallocate what we have our share in there for to do something different. We'll keep you updated with those as they come in.
Great work. Jamie wanted me to pass these out to the police for kids.
Oh,
So include the budget.
there we go.
There's a whole lot of it.
Got more.
All right, so if there's no other concerns or issues at this moment, I have a motion, a second, to move the item 3A to the council agenda.
Revolt moves.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we will move it to the council agenda next week. So item 3B, resolution to acknowledge the rates and fees utilized to establish the budget. So just looking at those numbers, that he talked about, for instance, moving the fees with zoning and planning. So we talked about those in the past couple of weeks, and this is to establish that budget and make sure those numbers are in there. Any questions or concerns on that?
No, makes
All right.
sense.
Motion and a second to move item 3B to the council agenda next
Revolt
week.
moves.
All in favor?
So we need second.
Oh, second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we will move that to the council agenda as well. And then lastly, 3C is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter a contract for professional auction services for sale of vehicles, which we do every single year, and we hope to make a little bit of money and allows us to buy the new buildings and vehicles that we need. Any questions or concerns on that?
Couple of items other than just vehicles on the list. Be good to get,
Get other things you're saying?
there are a couple of other things other than vehicles on the list.
You're right. Get them out of here. All right, so I need a motion and a second. I'll make the motion to move that item 3C to the council agenda. Is there a second?
1 second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that will move to the council agenda next week.
And we'll make a motion to adjourn.
So
All
moved.
those,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried, we're adjourned.
Wow.
No, thanks. You can have your Skittles. Did you thank him for your Skittles?